Okay, so the next thing we want to talk about are what are called even and odd functions. So if we have, uh, let's take an example of an even function, a couple examples. So f of x equals x squared is called even. F of x equals x to the fourth is called even. F of x equals x to the sixth is called even. On the other hand, odd, for example, g of x equals x is called odd. Another example, g of x equals x cubed, or g of x equals x to the fifth. Okay, so what do we mean by even and odd? An even function has the property that f of x is equal to f of negative x. So is that true for these up here? Are these really even? Let's try. So what we want to know is f of x equal to f of negative x. So let's try it for this one here. So f of x is what? X squared. And f of negative x is negative x squared. But of course, that's x squared, so it's true. Let's try this one. So let's try f of x again. Is it equal? I guess I should give these names, like this is f1, this is f2, this is f3. So let's say f2. Is that equal to f of negative x? F2 of negative x. This, of course, is x to the fourth, and this is what? Negative x to the fourth. You can say that's negative 1 to the fourth times x to the fourth, which this is just x to the fourth. So again, it's true. And how about this one? f3 of x, is that equal to f of negative x? So again, it's going to be, this is x to the sixth, and what's this? Negative x to the sixth, and you can see that they're going to be equal. So this property defines what we mean by even, and we see that all of these up here are all even. Okay, now let's talk about odd functions. So we'll say f of x is called an odd function, or is called odd, if, by the way, this symbol means if and only if, f of negative x equals minus f of x. This is definition for an odd function. So let's see if any of these g's that we proposed are actually odd functions. So let's check let's call it g1 of x is equal to x. So let's check that. So we want to check g1 of negative x. Question is that equal to minus g of x? So g1 of negative x, here's g1. So g1 of negative x is what? Is negative x. And the question is that equal to minus g of x? Well, what is g of x? G of x is just x. So yes, this is true. So this is an odd function. Let's try another one. Let's try g2 of negative x. Is that equal to minus g2 of x? So here, what do we get? g2 is x cubed. Here's g2. g2 of x is x cubed. So if I put in minus x, I get minus x cubed. And over here, I get what? Minus g2 of x is x cubed. So are these equal? Yes, they're equal. So this is also an odd function. So, and you can check this one, this is also odd. Again, what's the definition of even? If f of x equals minus f of x. And what is the definition of odd? F of minus x equals minus f of x. So here it's if f of minus x equals f of x, and here it's if f of minus x equals minus f of x. So let's write that down. So this symbol here, this double arrow here, means the same thing as this. And this means, I'll just write it again, this means if and only if. That's a double. The IFF means if and only if, and this means the same thing, if and only if. So f is even if and only if f of negative x equals f of x, and f is odd if f of negative x equals minus f of x. So what does this mean about the graph of an even function and the graph of an odd function?